Hi folks, how you doing? RussellTrueResults303.com. Check out the website, link in the description box. Mind, Body, Spirit, Fitness. Put in the healing back in health. Check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Google+. Podcast is out there as well. All those links are down below. Excuse me, drinking coffee. Coming at you today on knowing your limits and when to push your limits. I heard a great quote the other day. I wish I would have looked it up. Just trying to go off the air where it was something along the lines of like, you should always know your limits, and when you push your limits, you should push them hard, but you don't push them often, right? So it's kind of stay in your comfort zone for a little bit, and then once you find, you're like, all right, I'm going to test the limit, and then I'm going to go for it, right? And once again, though, this is only going to work in certain aspects of life, right? That's like the person, in my opinion, physically, you should always be pushing yourself in crazy positions, like physically and mentally. You should always be trying to strive to get a little bit better. I've heard someone say before, well, I'm just good at lifting weights, so why would I go run a marathon? Well, why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? In my opinion, physically pushing yourself, that's completely different. You might not run the fastest, but it's doing it just to say I did it sometimes, right? Just be like, yeah, I can squat 600 and I've ran a marathon before. That's pretty impressive, right? Because most people that can bench 600-700 probably can't run a marathon. Just like someone who can run a marathon probably is not gonna bench or squat 600 or whatever the case may be, right? So pushing yourself physically is always going to be something great. Mentally, this is something that we struggle at in today's world completely. We can't even have reasonable debates or conversations without calling each other names, right? And we're never getting outside of our comfort zone in that way, to where we don't want to discuss these difficult issues with other people. They say never talk religion, never talk politics. I always want to talk religion. I always want to talk politics. That's just the way it is, right? Why? Because those are the important things. I could really care less about what you ate, how you slept, what's the weather like, right? People will always say, oh man, when someone asks you what's the weather like, it's just going to be a horrible conversation. Okay, well, if we're both open-minded enough, we can come up with a really great discussion about your beliefs, my beliefs, and what we can do. One of the greatest discussions I've had in probably the last 2 years, because it was probably that long ago, was with a gay man on Catholic teaching about homosexuality, and then he was a straight gay guy, and him and I had our conversations, and at the end of it, he said, you know what, I really respect Catholics and Christians in you right now. I appreciate this conversation. It was like a 2-hour conversation. It was great. He had his point of view, I had my point of view. We both walked away. There was no anger, no name calling. It was literally a 2-hour discussion about these things. It was great. But nowadays we can't even do that. It's just you're a bigot, you're a homophobe, you're this, you're that. Well, no, in this sense, we can sometimes agree to disagree. I hate that term, but we both grow from it, right? He said he had a greater respect for Christians and Catholics, and I had a greater respect for him. We had our back and forth, and things were great. Now, in terms of not pushing yourself, that would be the equivalent of, I'm a firm believer that God gave you your talents for some reason. He gave me my talents for some reason. And this is why we need to be able to pray, meditate, sit in silence, and find out what those talents are. That's why we need to run marathons, lift weights, do calisthenics, do triathlons, ride bicycles, do whatever these things are, to find out what you're good at, right? Because unfortunately in today's world, it gets to the point now when it comes financially and career-wise, everybody wants to be a lawyer because they make about a lot of money. Everybody wants to be a stockbroker because they make a lot of money. But in reality, they're not happy doing those things, right? So you're pushing your limit in a direction, or you're following a direction that does not matter. You might be horrible at numbers. You might be horrible at debating, but you're taking that career path solely because of financial purposes. When in reality, you'd probably be a lot happier as an artist, as a writer, as a singer, as whatever, a bricklayer, a landscaper, owning your own restaurant, and instead you're going off and doing these other things that are not helping you in any way, shape, or form. So once again, it's knowing your limits, and when you want to get there, push hard, but don't push often, right? That's going to lead to burnout. Even though failure can be a good thing, if you just keep failing over and over again, that right there is going to put you on the downhill slide. So once again, it's know your limits, know your comfort zone. Every once in a while, push out of it. And when you do, you push harder than heck to achieve something great. And then now your comfort zone has just been moved up a couple notches, right? So once again, I hope this helps you figure out what your comfort zone is, where you need to be pushing, where you need to not be pushing, because once again, we're all unique in our own special ways, and you know, your limits are going to be different than mine. Your areas of pushing are going to be different than mine, right? You might be good with numbers, so you want to go into stocks and accounting and this and that, right? But once again, now that next level of pushing yourself might be your own business. Maybe it's getting contracting work on the side, right? To get your name out of that firm, get some side work, then you're slowly building up your clientele to get to that next level. Maybe you're a great teacher, maybe you're a great this. But once again, like I said, mentally and physically, you should always be pushing yourself. You should always be trying to find something that you didn't think was possible. What do you think a personal record is on your bench press? Just lifting more weight you never thought possible, right? That's all it is. So mentally, physically, you should be pushing yourself often, in my opinion, but watch out for burnout, injury, and things like that. And then once again, career-wise, same thing. Find what you're good at. Don't just follow the money. Don't just follow the women. Don't just follow the whatever. You know, find your purpose. That's what it's about. Just because you like basketball, you know, if you're 5'6", you're most likely never going to become a basketball player. That's just the way it is. Know your role, know your limits, push your boundaries every once in a while, move your comfort zone closer to holiness, to perfection, and your life's going to change for the better. So once again, I hope this helps. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to follow on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, the podcast. All those links are down below. Subscribe to this channel. Share and like these videos.